Hello my friends, Green Energy here, and I am back with more Dark Souls Remastered. Where we left off, we had actually just left the undead asylum and arrived here at the Firelink Shrine. Now I hadn't explained what the bonfire purpose was outside of just being checkpoints and warp locations for when we can do that. Well, you can also level up our character, which we can do because we defeated a boss. Here's where I can now explain what all of these skills that I can scroll through actually mean. There's actually a help tab that you can click. Here's our name. That's the level of our character. Every time we level up a skill, we level up an entire level for our character. That's the amount of souls that we have in our inventory, and that's the amount that we need in order to level up one level. Our vitality is our HP, our health points. If I level this up, then our red bar for our health is going to go up. Our attunement is the number of attunement slots for spells. Since we aren't going to be a caster in this Let's Play, I'm not going to be paying attention to this one at all. Endurance is our stamina and our equipment load, along with our resistance to bleeding. Bleeding is kind of the minor thing that we pay attention to. The stamina and equipment load is huge. Stamina is that green bar. The higher our endurance is, the more stamina we have gauged up, our rolls become quicker, and our equipment load matters in terms of our gear. If our gear is too heavy, then our guy is going to roll super slow. If it's at a medium length, at a medium weight, then our guy is going to do a mid-roll where he rolls at a somewhat steady pace. And if we have a very light load of equipment, and that's what we're going to try to shoot for the best we can, that's when our character can move its quickest when we roll. For strength, that's the parameter that's required in order to wield powerful weapons, along with giving us more of a kick when we hit somebody with our sword. So we're going to be paying attention to our strength as well. Dexterity is required to wield advanced weapons, so weapons that look more than just your average sword that we're actually carrying right now. If we want bigger, more powerful great swords like we're going to try to look for, we're going to want to level up our dexterity. Our resistance is any boosting defense. It's helping us have a resistance to anything that hits us, as well as having a resistance to poison. I tend not to spend a large amount of attention to this one. I might not be a good player because I do that, but the big things I pay attention to are dexterity, strength, endurance, and vitality. Intelligence and faith are both required to do those spells. Intelligence is for the sorcerer when you're doing those magic spells, and then faith is for miracles. Since we aren't a caster, we're not going to be paying attention to either of those. Our humanity is the amount of black spites in our bosom. It's the amount of humanity that we have and that we can equip towards kindling a bonfire, which I'm going to explain real quick as well. If we run through this, here's our health points, our stamina, our equip load. So I'm paying attention to a lot of these numbers to see how high they go up whenever I'm leveling up my character. We have our first equipment slot for right hand. That's the amount of damage we have. Our second equip slot, which I don't use as much. I tend to just put it in one slot for each hand. Here's our attack weapon for our left hand on both slots. And here's our physical defense, our strike, for strike attacks, slash attacks, and thrust attacks. Our defense against magic, flame, and lightning. And over here we have our resistance to poise. We also have our bleed resist, our poison resist, and our curse resist, along with item discovery. The higher this is, the more often we'll be getting some rare items. And then our attunement slots, which are for spells, and we're not going to be worrying about those. But that's what all of that means. And since I have my endurance, strength, and dexterity up a little bit, I'm going to focus a little bit more heavily on my vitality, so that you can see my HP. All those blue numbers means that something went up, even if it's just a little bit. But that means our health, our HP, is going up a ton, so that our health bar can be a little bit larger. So I'm going to put all my souls towards that right now. But we can also reverse howling and kindle our bonfire. I'm not going to worry about it, because if we go to our inventory, we only have one single thing of humanity. And I want to have at least two before I can kindle a bonfire. And this bonfire, since it's the Firelink, it's already kindled. That means if you look down at our Estus, before we only had 5. If you kindle a bonfire and rest at it, you can get it up to 10. Later on we can actually get an item that boosts that up to 15, and then 20 as well. But we're not going to have that for a little while, but we're going to be just happy with 10. To explore Firelink a little bit, this NPC kind of gives us the format of if you're getting lost and you can't figure this stuff out and you don't feel like using the internet like I did when I started playing, then you can ask this guy where we're going, what the point of the game is.
What do we have here? You must be a new arrival. Let me guess. Fate of the undead, right? Well, you're not the first. But there's no salvation here. You'd have done better to rot in the undead asylum. But too late now. Well, since you're here, let me help you out. There are actually 2 bells of awakening. One's up above in the undead church. The other is far, far below, in the ruins at the base of Blight Town. Ring them both, and something happens. Brilliant, right? Not much to go on, but I have a feeling that won't stop you. So, off you go. It is why you came, isn't it? To this accursed land, the undead.
Little spooky dude, huh? But he does give us the kind of object that we're going for right now. We're trying to ring 2 bells, and so we're going to go explore 2 areas. One that's above us in a church of the undead, and the one that's below us in Blighttown. But we're going to go to the Church of the Undead first. But let's finish exploring Firelink Shrine. If we come down, we actually have our Firekeeper. She does not speak. I think she's a little sad. I don't know a lot of the lore behind these games. I would explain it, but I think that there are better sources on YouTube, so if you guys are looking to get more into the lore of what's really going on throughout the game, I encourage you to look that up on YouTube at other sources, because they are just going to be way more equipped and way more knowledgeable than I am. Here, obviously, you can talk to her, but she can't speak. But here's where we can reinforce our Estus Flask. We have to get Firekeeper souls in order to do so. We're going to get one very soon when we go to the Undead Church. But that's where you can level up our Estus Flask, and that will increase the amount of HP that is given to us when we drink from it. We can go down these stairs to another area, but we're not going to do that for a little while, so we're not gonna bother with that right now. We're going to grab this item real quick, and we're going to explore this little area real quick. Over here, we just have this little lake. There's not much of a purpose to it, and there's also a chest back here. I did not play the original game when it came out. I don't know if this chest serves a purpose, but there's nothing in it. It's already open. Up above, we have the crow that brought us here. It's actually going to bring us back to the asylum when we get to that point. We have a path over here that leads to an area, but our level is not appropriate for that area yet. We're not going to come back to this area for quite a while yet. We have to do some things before we come here, otherwise our enemies are going to be too tough, and the bosses are going to be killing me before I even have a chance to do much. If we come up here, up these stairs is going to lead to an elevator that we're actually going to be able to use later on. The Undead Church is actually right above us right here, but we have to go all the way through the Undead Burg in order to get there. So, when we get to that point, throughout the game you try to unlock shortcuts to go between areas so that it's easier to get between point A and point B, so that it's not such a long walk to the bosses or to where you may have died at. But our friend right here is going to help us out with some stuff.
Hello there. I believe we are not acquainted. I am Petrus of Firelink. Have you business with us? If not, I'd prefer to keep a distance, if possible. Hello there. I realize that I have requested that we retain our distance, but I also want you to know that it is not meant in ill will. Here, take this as a token of peace. No, go ahead. It's for you.
He's polite. He just wants a space. But if we keep talking to him...
You again? Oh, I know. How about this? I have to awake my companions here anyway. So what if I were to teach you some miracles? Would that please you?
Yes, it would.
Very well. Then first, a covenant with the gods.
We can join the Covenant. These Covenants, I am going to be honest, I don't understand much of the purpose behind them aside from getting certain items from people.
Now let me share my miracles. Only their ultimate effectiveness will be determined by your efforts and your faith.
And now we can come to Petrus. We'll learn his gesture. Gestures don't serve as much of a purpose unless you're playing online with other people, which we are not going to be doing. But you can purchase any of the miracles from him. Like I've said before, we're not a caster, so we're not going to worry about purchasing any of these things. But if you are playing along and you chose to be a caster, then maybe miracles are something you might want to look into.
Come again. The effectiveness of the teachings depend upon your faith.
But that is essentially all of Firelink Shrine. We do get some characters that we are introduced to throughout the game. Once we find them and talk to them and exhaust their dialogue, they'll actually come back here so that it's easier for us to purchase whatever they may have or ask them questions. I forgot one little thing. If we go up this little side stairwell right here, we can get some free fire bombs right here, I think. Yep. I don't tend to use them, but they are useful if you choose to use them. They do some damage and they prevent fire damage to certain enemies. But now we're going to head to our first non-tutorial area of the game, the Undead Burg. Now there's a hollow up top that's throwing fire bombs down on us. You want to be careful that that doesn't rain down on your parade and harms you. So you got to be very resourceful. Before we get that item and an item that's on the bottom of the bridge over there, I want to take out Fireboy over here. Take out these guys and then we're going to head back down. Because now we can take out this fellow and then we'll get these items. Now, I don't know if you could determine, Dark Souls is not a platformer. When I say platformer, I mean something related to Mario or Sonic. But sometimes we have to jump to get on stuff. And this game is notoriously not made for that. So, it can be tricky. Doing certain jumps can be tough. And sometimes I'm going to fail at it, I'll be honest. Because we don't jump very high, don't jump very far. And it's not an easy mechanic on my controller to do it either. So that ring of sacrifice, if we go to our rings and we press square to toggle display, it'll show us exactly what it does. And essentially, this mystical ring was created in a sacrificial rite of Velka, the goddess of sin. Its wearer will lose nothing upon death, but the ring breaks itself. So if I'm fighting a boss and I have a ton of souls that I am worried about losing, I can put that ring on, and if I die, the ring will break, but I will keep all my souls. I don't use those rings very often, and that's probably not very wise of me, because I lose souls from time to time. You'll probably see me get extremely frustrated and mad at myself for not thinking ahead in that regard. Now these souls that I'm picking up, realize I hadn't explained that before. I can consume these and they bring souls to me. My soul count will go up. So that's what that's used for. This copper coin's not used for much. I don't use those other items, but Firebomb, Estus, I've explained everything else so far. I want to make sure that those who aren't as familiar with these games are getting a handle on what these items are. But, like I said in my first video, I am not a master. Especially when we get to further games in the series, I'm not good at following directions. I enjoy the gameplay of exploring areas and fighting baddies. I'm not the smartest cat. Oh, 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 oh. Alright. There we go. If that guy would have caught me in his little sword spam, he can kill me. Those guys can freak me out, even though they're super easy to kill. They're also, if you're not careful in this game, any enemy can kill you. Kinda gotta take it slow. There's gonna be some instances in the game where I might sprint through areas, but I still have to be smart about where I'm running and why I'm skipping certain parts. So, you want to roll through those barrels because there's a little area down here that we want to do first before we continue. We don't want to go take on that guy first because these guys are going to sandwich you. So take out those guys first, and then we can go take out our friend over here. Over here we have an item. And then up those stairs is the area that we were just at. So, in case you're wondering where that little stairwell leads to, that's where it goes. Because now we have to find another path up, because I can't go back up where I just came down from. We got a couple guys hanging out on a bridge over here. These guys aren't super tough alone, but if they gang up on you, they can take you out. It's probably one of the more aggravating enemies when they kill you is I get super upset with myself because I shouldn't have been dying to those guys, but it happens. And once we grab this humanity right here, we can drop back down on that first stairwell that we came out of that tunnel with, and now we're back to this area. I'm getting random souls from people I didn't realize were still over there. We can walk through this white mist and collect this item. And there's a dragon. He is going to light up a bridge that we have to walk across later, and you'll probably see me die if I don't die before then. My first time on that bridge. It's kind of a pain in the neck in order to get across. We got a big old group of dudes up here. He can't shoot us from down here, so I'm going to run through and we're going to grab this shield right here. I'm going to take a look at that shield. It looks like it's not doing any better than the shield we already had. If you look at attack, the physical attack, as well as the damage reduction, not much changes. The physical one's the big one we're looking at. My shield right now actually does 100% damage reduction, so when someone hits me, for the most part, as long as it doesn't take up my stamina bar, because it's a bigger enemy, I'm not actually taking damage when they hit me. Some of the other characters don't have as good of a shield as this one does. We're going to light this bonfire. We're not going to rest at it. Because another thing that these bonfires do, although they're checkpoints, if you rest at a bonfire, most of the enemies in the game are going to respawn. They're going to come back and they're going to be in the exact same spot. So all of these guys that I just fought would be coming back and they would be ready to fight me. Some enemies don't respawn, but a majority of them will. Now these spear guys are huge cowards. They're sitting there until I make an attack, and then they'll attack me. Oop. Got too confident there. Once we take them out, we roll through these boxes. We have an area down here. And we have our next merchant.
Well now, you seem to have your wits about you. Then you are a welcome customer. I trade for souls. Everything's for sale.
He trades for souls. We have repair powder. If we have a weapon that's starting to break, they get repaired whenever you rest at a bonfire. But if I'm going for a long stroll, haven't been around a bonfire in a while, and my weapon's telling me that it's about to break, I can use this repair powder to repair it on my person. Throwing knife I can use as a projectile. It doesn't do a lot of damage, but it's really good when you have a big group of enemies and you want to kind of bait them to come to you one at a time. You can throw these at them. More of those fire bombs. Lloyd's Talisman prevents certain enemies that can use Estus Flasks from using them. I don't use that item very much. I don't remember what this weird dried finger does, but I don't use it. And then you can write view, or rate a message using this. Messages are the little orange icons that are on the ground. That's what other players have left. I don't leave any because I don't have anything to add. But certain characters put those down. Some of them are super helpful, and some of them troll you. Here's a repair box that we can use to repair stuff at the bonfire. We might buy one of these from another merchant later on. And then this allows for us to manage our inventory so we don't have so much stuff. We're actually going to buy this key because there's certain doors we're going to want to unlock later down in Undead Bergen and Undead Parish. All of these weapons, I don't usually worry about buying. I don't usually buy weapons for the most part. I collect weapons throughout the battlefield, and then when we get to the merchants later on that are actually swordsmiths that can make my weapons better, I upgrade the weapons that I pick up. You can also buy some arrows and bolts, and then some armor. But I don't pay attention to those either.
Thank you kindly.
See, he's super nice when you buy something, but watch what happens when you don't.
I hope you brought... What a waste of time. Go and fall off a cliff.
Not a nice dude, huh? He just wants your money. Right, look out for that guy hiding behind the bookshelf. Ooh, a backstab. Alright, here's where we want to try to bait them. Even though 2 of them came, 2 is better than 4. So once we take those guys out, we can climb up this ladder. Collect the throwing knives. We get some free ones just by coming over here. And then we're going to try to jump onto that platform. We couldn't have done that beforehand. The stairwell that's in that building is broken as well. And so we actually had to come all the way down this path in order to hopefully jump to this area. It's only for 1 item. It's right up here on this balcony. Crossbow, which we can also use to bait enemies. You can drop down here, but you're going to do some damage to yourself. I think you could also possibly fit through. Nope, not through this spot. You can drop down here, but you'll take damage doing that. So I'm just going to walk down to the broken stairwell. And then this is a familiar area. We came through here earlier. Now we're going to make our way back to the bonfire. And then this is where we're going to wrap up today's episode. Thank you guys for joining me. Once again, if you enjoyed the video, please like and comment what you enjoyed about the video. If you would like to see more, please don't hesitate to subscribe. I'm going to try to put up stuff as much as I can. Keep spreading positive vibes. Thanks, y'all.